Since Repair Clinic encourages you to perform this repair safely, a warning icon will appear when you should use caution. Before you replace the ignition coil assembly in your snowblower, make sure the engine has cooled. Use a 3/8-inch socket to unthread the 3 mounting bolts, securing the chute handle and the chute itself. Remove the assembly and detach the handle. Using a Phillips head screwdriver, unthread the screw to release the chute ring seal. Unthread the 2 front housing mounting screws. Next, unthread the 3 screws from the right side of the housing. Use the 3/8-inch socket or nut driver to unthread the mounting bolt, securing the housing to the rear bracket. Next, unthread the screws to release the 2 retaining clamps, holding the housing to the handle. You can now fully remove the housing. Use an 8mm socket to unthread the 6 bolts securing the muffler cover. Use a 1/2-inch socket to fully unthread the upper bolts securing the handle assembly. Lower the handle to fully remove the muffler cover. Disconnect the wires from the key switch terminals. Use a 10mm socket to unthread the nuts securing the control housing. Pull the housing off of the mounting bolts. Now use a 10mm socket to unthread the 2 nuts and an 8mm socket to unthread the screw securing the side access cover. Pull the cover off. Detach the starter rope and handle from the retainer. Use the 8mm socket to unthread the lower bolts securing the fan cover. Use a 10mm deep well socket to unthread the upper studs. This may require some effort. With the studs unthreaded, you can detach the fan cover. Use pliers to release the ignition coil wire retaining clip from the control housing and set the clip aside. Detach the primer hose from the carburetor so you can fully remove the control housing. Now use the 8mm socket to unthread the 2 ignition coil mounting bolts. Detach the wire and boot from the spark plug. Move the breather tube out of the way. Unhook the fuel hose from the insulator, and you can fully remove the old ignition coil assembly. Install the new ignition coil assembly by feeding the boot and ignition wire under the fuel hose. Then attach the boot to the spark plug. Secure the hose in the notch in the insulator and move the breather tube back into position. Confirm that the flywheel magnets are rotated out of the way, then position the coil and thread the mounting bolts loosely. Make sure to secure the grounding wire under the lower bolt. Insert a business card between the coil and flywheel, then rotate the flywheel until the magnets align with the coil. Tighten the bolts and remove the card. Attach the primer hose to the carburetor. Then secure the ignition wire to the control housing with the retaining clip. Reposition the fan cover, then rethread the upper mounting studs. Rethread the lower bolts as well. Secure the starter rope and handle in the retainer. Realign the side access cover and thread the screw and nuts to secure. Reposition the control housing. Thread and tighten the mounting nuts. Connect the wires to the key switch terminals. Reposition the muffler cover and thread the 6 bolts to secure. Reposition the handle assembly and rethread the upper bolts. Reposition the housing. Align the 2 retaining clamps and thread the screws to secure the housing to the handle. Rethread the mounting bolt to secure the housing to the rear bracket. Replace the 3 right side screws. Rethread the 2 screws securing the front of the housing. Reposition the ring seal on the housing so the Phillips head screw hole aligns with the appropriate screw hole in the ring gear. Thread the screw. Realign the handle on the chute, then reposition the assembly on the ring seal, and thread the 3 mounting bolts to secure. Your snowblower should now be ready for use.